All right, boys and girls. Well, the market, she's been taking a little bit of a dip today, but it's having a little bit of a late night pump here, as you can tell by the Bitcoin chart having this big green candle. And it looks like actually it's even up almost 2% in the past 24 hours, wiping out the little bit of retracement that we saw earlier. We're not quite out of the woods yet, though, because we haven't yet made a higher high here, and it looks like this pump is starting to get a little bit here up in the overbought territory on the hourly chart. But if you actually back out to the daily chart, you can see that we still have quite a bit of ways to go left before we actually make a higher high, because the previous high here was $44,000 and about $700. Since we've been basically nothing but up, especially over the last 3 months or so, it seems like we are definitely due for a cool off. But with everybody out there yelling that it's going to happen right now, I think that there is a possibility that because everybody's saying we're going to go down, we might actually go up, because that direction might actually be max pain. Anyway, it's not for certain yet, and obviously with things being this overheated, nobody knows what's going to happen exactly. And with all of the excitement around the Bitcoin ETFs coming out any day now, it seems like any retracement down is basically going to get bought up, because everybody's expecting people to buy the dip and they want to get ahead of the line. Especially because Bitcoin hasn't had very many dips this year, and any dip is going to be seen as a buying opportunity. Unfortunately, though, if you look over here, we do have the CME gap, and I have mentioned this in the past, but now pretty much all of the biggest YouTube crypto channels are starting to talk about it. But like I said in a previous video, these do have about an 80% chance of being filled, so we probably do have to come back down here to about $39,000 before we ultimately bounce and go back to the upside, hopefully. Like I said, though, everybody's expecting people to buy the dip, so it seems like maybe people are trying to buy the dip before we get down to fill this gap, because that's the price target that everybody's expecting. So maybe we don't go down to fill it all the way up, but it seems like pretty much it doesn't matter anyway, because we're already at $42,000, and a dip down to $38,000 could happen in about 10 minutes, and then we could be back up where we are now. A $4,000 price fluctuation is not going to matter, though, here in a couple of months, especially after we get this spot ETF finally approved. And like I said, it looks like it could happen any day now, because the SEC officials keep meeting with spot Bitcoin ETF filers. Just about every couple of days over the past couple of weeks, we've seen that one of these filers is refiling an application, or the SEC is meeting with them, or something like that. And it just seems like it's ramping up and becoming more and more rapid. So maybe they're just kind of wrapping up the formalities and just dotting their I's and crossing their T's or whatever before they actually get this thing launched before hopefully January 10th. VanEck is one of the filers for the Bitcoin spot ETFs, and the CEO went on the news this weekend and had this to say.
Has Bitcoin already made the big gains and now kind of treading water?
No, because it's growing up. Like I said, it's like a child that's growing up. And so you can argue about it being a bubble. And what I say is no bubble. So it bubbled in 2017, but then it hit all-time highs in 2021. So nothing has ever been a bubble that then has outperformed itself. And so I fully expect in this cycle, and you have this halvening thing happening in April, which is great technically for Bitcoin, I expect all-time highs in the next 12 months.
A lot of money is going to be pouring into the crypto space over the next year, and for the CEO of VanEck to be coming out and saying something like this, it's super bullish, because other institutional players in the space are going to be looking at what these guys are doing, and they're obviously going to be trying to figure out any way that they can to get their hands on some Bitcoin as well, so that VanEck doesn't make all of the profit. Another sign that an ETF approval is right around the corner is that we actually got a advertisement for one of them today, which is really exciting, and it looks like Bitwise is the first one to release an ETF commercial. This is what it looked like.
You know what's interesting these days? Bitcoin.
Cut. What if we get him?
You know what's interesting these days? Bitcoin. Look for Bitwise, my friends.
One thing's for sure, I think things are going to get very interesting after these ETFs get approved. And not just because the price is going to go up. Here we have an article on Cointelegraph that says the spot Bitcoin ETF is going to be a bloodbath for crypto exchanges. The spot Bitcoin ETFs could trigger unwanted consequences for crypto exchanges like Coinbase due to lower transaction fees, according to ETF analysts. It seems like analysts are predicting that it's going to take a lot of traffic away from exchanges, and I could definitely agree with that, and maybe they're going to be missing out on a lot of money that they could use in the next bear market. So as usual, it's probably the prudent thing to do to make sure that your cryptocurrency is in a cold storage wallet, because cold storage can't actually go under, and even if the manufacturer of your cold storage wallet goes under, you can still recover your wallet with your passphrase. I think all of the exchanges and the ETFs are going to be doing really well, and they're not going to have very many financial troubles, hopefully, over the next couple of years, especially during the bull market. But whenever things start to cool off a little bit, it seems like the institutional investors that hold these ETFs are probably going to come out on top, and hopefully these exchanges can hold on again, because we saw how sketchy it got in the last bull market. None of that will be your problem, though, if you keep your cryptocurrency in cold storage, so just remember to remove your stuff off of exchanges at least before the bear market ticks off. As this article on Bloomberg says, the countdown for a Bitcoin ETF decision is approaching a critical deadline, and there's likely fewer than 30 days before the crypto's first inevitable leap into traditional finance offers digital money proponents a path to redemption post FTX. Anyway, what they're saying here is that basically there's less than 30 days until the January 10th deadline, and we're probably going to be getting one of these ETFs finally approved. Whenever that happens, it might be too late to get your hands on some Bitcoin, at least at a reasonable price, because things could explode astronomically overnight. As soon as the news comes across mainstream headlines, people are going to be pouring money into cryptocurrency left and right, and all of these institutional players are going to be putting big money in, which is going to make it really hard to keep up. So if Bitcoin does continue to dip here over the next couple of weeks, I'm going to do everything I can to take full advantage of the opportunity, because like I've said so many times in the past, we're probably never going to see another opportunity like this ever again. And now it looks like cryptocurrency companies are joining the ranks of Congress's lobbyists, because as this article on Axios says, crypto leaders have built a colossal $78 million war chest for 2024. Cryptocurrency industry leaders have poured $78 million into super PACs aimed at bolstering and growing the ranks of crypto-friendly lawmakers on Capitol Hill. Raised in just 3 months with nearly a year to go before Election Day, this puts crypto on track to rival far more established industries in terms of political giving. Basically, this means that cryptocurrency is going to join the likes of JP Morgan in buying Congress people or senators like Elizabeth Warren. Like George Carlin said, it's a big club and you're not in it, but it looks like we're finally getting a foot in the door. If you can't beat them at their own game, then you might as well join them, and this is going to be super bullish for the whole space, as we're going to see this battle play out in Congress, and finally there's going to be people actually pulling for our team. Finally, here we have an article on CoinDesk that says FTX has filed reorganization plans to end their bankruptcy. It looks like they've figured out where all of that money went, and I guess they pulled enough together to pay back their creditors and reopen the business. If all of the money was actually really there and they ended up being able to put it back together, does that mean that Sam Bankman-Fried actually didn't rob everybody of all of their cryptocurrency? I've said it before, and I'll say it again. I think that Sam Bankman-Fried was really just a patsy. I mean, he had way too many connections to people like Gary Gensler and members of Congress. Then it seemed like the operation was just used to funnel money into the Democratic Party, and then they used him as a fall guy so that they could put regulations and restrictions on the whole cryptocurrency space and try to take power back away from you and me. One thing's for sure, I'm definitely not going to be using the FTX exchange, because now it seems like it's probably going to belong to the government or something like that. I mean, maybe not publicly, but you know that they all have their hands in it now. Realistically, a lot of the money that they've put together now, especially since the market is up more than 100, almost 200% for the past year, a lot of it's actually probably from gains that were made this year. But you guys let me know in the comments, what do you think? What was actually the deal with the FTX collapse, and how can they actually reopen if there's still billions of dollars missing? Either way, thank you guys so much for watching, and don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. Most importantly though, don't forget to have a wonderful day, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.